Well, congratulations. You're looking to buy a brand new Jeep Wrangler? Well, you have come to the right place. In this video, we are going to talk about everything you need to know before you buy your dream Jeep. And we're going to talk about the engines, the options, and the specifications you should buy. But more importantly, the engines, the options, and the specifications you should skip in order to save you some money. So you head to Jeep.com to build out your perfect Wrangler, or maybe you walk into your dealer and you are immediately overwhelmed because there are 12 different trim configurations, 6 different engines, 4 different tops, and there's a little one and a big one, and it's just, the whole process can be really overwhelming. But we're gonna make it super simple and guide you through the process so you know exactly what to get and what not to get.
This video is brought to you by Manscape.com. You know, I love Manscaped because they give you tools, solutions for the 3 odor zones, the body, butt, and balls. They just launched their new Lawnmower 4.0 waterproof electric trimmer, and now you can get it with the ultimate Manscaped experience when you purchase their new Performance Package 4.0 bundle. This is an all-in-one kit that includes all the tools to perfect your body grooming experience. From your morning shower to late night, be ready for anything moments. After your shower, be sure to apply Manscaped Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant, a quick absorbing, clear drying moisturizer lotion for all day protection. For that midday refresher, be sure to pack your Crop Reviver Ball Toner Spray with cooling aloe vera and anti-inflammatory properties. The new Performance Package 4.0 bundle now includes their new Weed Whacker nose and ear hair trimmer. For a limited time, you can get 2 free gifts: the Shed travel bag and the Manscaped anti-chafing boxer briefs. Don't wait until next year. Go to manscaped.com and use my promo code FASTLANECAR to get 20% off plus free international shipping plus 2 free gifts. Join the Manscaped movement today. The Performance Package 4.0, it says it all. Your body and balls will thank you.
So why should you listen to me when it comes to building your ideal Wrangler? Well, I'm fortunate to be very involved with the Jeep community. I know the engineers and the folks that made the Wrangler happen. I've also driven every trim of the Wrangler, 2 doors, 4 doors. We've owned every generation of Wrangler dating back to 1987, so lots and lots of experience. And I also know what's worth the money and what's not, because this is my personal Wrangler. I went through this exact process a few months back in building my exact spec, so I also am very familiar with the ordering process and what to expect there. The first choice you have to make is whether or not you should get the smaller 2-door Wrangler or the longer 4-door Wrangler. And let me make this choice super simple for you with a quick demonstration with Puppy Blaze. Now, to get him into the Wrangler, I have to put him into the back seat, which of course I have to do by folding the front seat back. So I'm sorry, buddy, but it's not quite ready to get in yet. So, got to grab a handle, pull that seat forward. All right, now you can go. Good boy. And then lift you in. Now, of course, that is a very doable process. However, if you have friends, if you have a family, if you have kids, if you have any need for a back seat whatsoever on a regular basis, go ahead and buy the 4-door Wrangler. I also personally believe it will be easier to resell down the road when it's time to move on to your next vehicle. Overall, it's just much more usable. Now, the 2-door does work for certain situations. This is my personal 2-door. I have a really small parking space. It's some 22 inches shorter than the 4-door, so if parking is a concern, maybe consider getting the 2-door. And then of course there is cost. The Unlimited, the 4-door version, is going to cost some $3,500 more than this smaller 2-door. Good boy, Blaze. Come on. The other thing you have to keep in mind, of course, is that the trunk is really quite small on the 2-door Wrangler. Really, anything bigger than a toaster oven is not going to fit back here, so I'd strongly recommend getting the 4-door for the vast majority of people. Yes, the old school purist will say, oh, it's not a real Jeep. Trust me, it's a real Jeep. It's very good off-road still. You do have a slightly longer wheelbase, which means getting over some of the really big rocks can be a challenge, but it's better on the road. I just think it's a much better solution for the vast majority of folks. It's now time to dive into the Jeep.com website and take a look at the confusing maze that is the 2022 Jeep Wrangler. So, in vehicles, we're going to select Wrangler, and then we're going to select the build configurator here, and you are greeted by an overwhelming display of models. But don't worry, we're going to break it down and make it super simple. Now, the first thing you might notice is in the upper left-hand corner, there's a button to change between 21 and 22 model years. And it's kind of interesting to see, sometimes when you go from 21 to 22, the prices go up, and other times they go down. So like a Sport has gotten a little bit more expensive by somewhere around $700, but like a Sport S and a Willys have actually gotten a little bit more affordable, something worth noting. So we've got a whole page of Jeep Wranglers right here. We're gonna break each trim down really quickly at a high level and kind of get a good gauge of what Wrangler is right for you. So at the base end of the spectrum, $33,225 for the 4-door. And once again, we are discussing 4-doors today because that is the one almost everybody buys. So base end of the spectrum is the Sport. These are actually pretty unusual because they are extremely basic. So they've got little steel wheels, they don't have power windows, they don't have power door locks, they are extremely basic. Now, people do like niceties in their Jeep typically, that's why you don't see too many of them, and quite honestly, dealers just don't make a lot of money from speccing the Sports for their dealership lot, so kind of a rare Jeep. Now up from there is a model called the Willys Sport. This is actually the one that I purchased. This is the ultimate everyman off-roader, so it still is extremely basic on the inside. Roll-up manual windows, however, it does have nicer wheels and tires. It's got some extra protection on the side against rocks. It's like the everyman, let's go out and hit the dirt. Now up from there is the Sport S. This is a great all-around daily driver Wrangler. Now we start to see some luxuries. We got like alloy wheels, we've got standard power door locks, standard power windows, that kind of thing. Leather wrapped steering wheel. So this is a great all-rounder compromise. From there, we see the standard Willys, kind of like the Willys Sport, the everyman off-roader, but unlike the Willys Sport, this one also has standard power door locks, standard power windows, that kind of thing. Now up from the Willys is the Sport Altitude. This is just like a kind of fancy Sport S. It's got nicer wheels and tires. It's got some blacked out bits on the front fascia. Then we see the Sport right-hand drive. There's pretty much only one purpose for the right-hand drive Jeep, and that is for mail delivery drivers. So if you have a postal route and you're delivering mail, it still is a cool thing to have a right-hand drive Wrangler so you can just plop stuff in the mailbox, but for the vast majority of folks, it doesn't make much sense. And then up from there is the Sahara. So the Sahara is the start of more of the luxury-oriented Wrangler. So it's got color-matched fenders. It's got nicer wheels and tires. On the inside, we start to see some luxury features make their way in from a standard perspective, as like nicer materials. Up from the Sahara is the Rubicon. Now this is the ultimate off-road machine. It's got locking differentials, so when you're off-road, it rotates all 4 tires at the exact same speed. It's got big chunky skid plates and a special crawl ratio for crawling over rocks. This thing is awesome, but let's be realistic here. Not everybody needs a Rubicon. I would say 99% of people don't need a Rubicon and shouldn't spend the extra money on one. All Wranglers are 4-wheel drive. They all have the 4-low setting for ultimate off-road traction and power. So for the vast majority of folks, skip the Rubicon. Up from there is the Sahara Altitude. Now this is an even fancier Sahara. Nicer wheels and tires, even still, more color-coded bits. And then when we see the ultimate in luxury, we've got the High Altitude. So this is like color-coded bumpers, color-coded mirrors. It's got little turn signals on the mirrors. It's got ginormous 20-inch wheels as standard, crazy pleated leather as standard. This is like if you want the LA New York Jeep, this is the one for you. And then lastly, we see the Rubicon 392. This is the massive V8 powered Jeep with huge horsepower, huge torque. It's insanely quick and insanely expensive, starting at $76,000. Wow. Now that V8 is incredible, but it is just one of many, many engine options. And let's talk about what the best engine is for you. Now, I think you'll find that most Jeeps you see on the lot are going to be equipped with something called the 2-liter i4. 2-liter, of course, is a displacement, so a relatively small engine. i4 means it has 4 cylinders, and it's got a turbo, which is a little speed snail bolted on the side, which helps it go quicker. Now, up here at altitude, that turbo is a really nice thing, and the little 2-liter 4-cylinder is surprisingly quick. Now, it's not the very base model engine, but kind of a step up, and I see a ton of them on dealer lots. It's not my favorite choice, so I've actually owned a Wrangler with this exact engine setup, and it's just a little bit high strung. Like, I don't want my Wrangler to be constantly wanting to accelerate quicker and quicker and quicker. It's not very refined in my opinion, and then it sounds like a sewing machine. It really has a weird kind of hum to it. So not my all-time favorite engine. My favorite choice is actually what they call the 3.6 liter V6, so 6 cylinders. This is just a very basic standard corporate V6. They use it in everything from the Ram pickup trucks to the minivans to like the Dodge Challenger sports cars. This V6 is in absolutely everything. There's 2 different versions. There's one with a manual transmission and then one with an automatic. The difference being the automatic is something called e-torque, which is like this extra little generator bolted on the front, which helps start and stop the engine when you come to stoplights. It's not my favorite system. I have had some issues with the e-torque system on the 2 liter when they used to include it on the 2 liter, but it is still my go-to choice, the V6, with probably the automatic for most people. Even though the manual's fun, the automatic is more reasonable. The reason I like it is just because it's been around for many, many years, since 2012 in the Jeep Wrangler, and it's proven itself quite sturdy over hundreds of thousands of miles for a lot of folks. Now, if you want a lot of extra power, you can step up to the 3 liter turbo diesel. Now, this is going to increase the price somewhere around $5,000 or $6,000 depending on the trim from a base model manual transmission. The reason you want the diesel, it does get surprisingly good fuel efficiency, and it does have a lot of torque, a lot of pulling power, which is great if you are going to install really big tires on your Jeep. So something to keep in mind. However, diesels are more expensive to maintain in the long run. Stuff like oil changes are typically more expensive. And for most folks, probably wouldn't recommend the diesel. And then there's 2 other engine options that we need to discuss. So there's a model called the 392. That's the one I was talking about. That's got like almost 500 horsepower, like 470 horsepower, but crazy, crazy expensive. And that is like if you can afford the ultimate crazy Wrangler, very neat stuff. And then the other one, which I absolutely adore, is a model called the 4xe. Now the 4xe is a plug-in hybrid, so it still has a 4-cylinder gasoline engine, but it has a really big battery on board so that you can plug it in at home and drive it about 20 miles on a single charge, and then when the battery dies, it's just a normal gas Jeep. Now, 20 miles doesn't sound like a lot, but that is enough for a lot of commutes, especially if you can plug it in at work. You can drive this vehicle pretty much for free if you have a small commute, just putting along in your local villages and cities. Love the 4xe. It's really fast too, 470 pound-feet of torque, so this thing hauls butt. It is pretty expensive, but you do get $7,500 back on your taxes for buying the 4xe, which does offset some of the additional price. But for most folks, just stick with the standard V6, be happy with it. Not crazy fast, not crazy fuel efficient, but it should be pretty solid over the long run. So let's go ahead and dive into the different options. Now, every trim model is going to have a slightly different pricing structure for different options, but let's talk about the ones you should buy and the ones you shouldn't buy when it comes to the individual options. So for 2022, every color other than white is going to be an extra cost. So white is free, and then if you want, for example, a black or a gray or a silver, you're going to be paying typically $295. One new color for 2022 is Silver Zenith Clear Coat Exterior Paint. Silver if you want a silver Wrangler. That's new for 22. And my favorite, which is just so funky, is called Tuscadero. Obviously not for everybody. It's this crazy bright pink. I'm not actually a pink fan. I hate pink, but I do really like the pink on the Wrangler. It's just so wild and different. But the color I'd probably choose is Sarge Green. I think it's a really cool deep rich green. Now different trims are going to have different wheel options. Those can be worth buying if you are interested in kind of sprucing up your Wrangler a little bit. And then there's typically an option on many trims for the all-terrain tires, $195. Now it's not like a true mud tire, but it is still pretty decent for a factory off-the-shelf tire, and for $195 I think it's well worth it because a set of tires in the aftermarket is going to be more expensive. Now as we look at the tops, bunch of different top configurations. So the standard top included in the Wrangler is a soft top. You can of course pull it back, it'll fold back. You can just pull back the front portion, pull out the windows, it comes off completely. But up from there is the hard top. So there's a 3-piece black painted hard top. Now depending on the trim, that's going to be about $1,500. And the hard top is good for probably most folks. If you live in a cold environment like here in Colorado, definitely recommend. Another thing to keep in mind is that if you live in a big city or a city where break-ins are pretty common, the hardtop will provide some additional security where a soft top is easy to crunch through. There's also premium soft top. So for example, if you want a slightly higher quality material on your soft top that might last a little bit longer than the standard stuff, you can pay typically about $800. These soft tops are made by a company called Best Top. You can also buy them in the aftermarket. And then the best part is there are additional colors. So you can get like a tan from the factory now, which is pretty cool. Dual top group if you want both a hard top and a soft top. Typically don't recommend it, but it can be a pretty good value. And then there's another cool thing called the power top. This is very, very cool. So it depends on the model. Sometimes you have to kind of rejigger it a little bit, but it's called the Sky One Touch Top. Now this looks like a standard hard top until you push a button. The whole canvas middle folds back and then the side windows pull out. Really cool solution. It is expensive though, over $4,000. And apparently right now, kind of tricky to get with the craziness that is the chip shortage. So let's keep going down the list. Let's switch up the models a little bit so you can see that stuff changes, price maybe perhaps, but doesn't change all that much relative to the model lineup. Doors and the hinge gate reinforcement. So you can get something called the hinge gate reinforcement, and what this does is beef up the swing gate in the back if you want to put a really giant tire in the back. It can be worth $675 if you're planning on upgrading down the road. And then there's something called the dual door group, $4,000. But what this does is it gives you these little stubby half doors along with your regular steel doors. And then these are kind of funky. These are like very 1980s. You can pull out the windows and still retain partial door. Very cool, but I don't think it's really worth $4,000. And there's also a version that's even more expensive with some nicer windows, because the windows just plop in and out. Side steps and running boards, these are going to change pretty significantly based on the trim you are looking at. But if you're of shorter stature, these can be super helpful for getting in and out of your brand new Wrangler. Very nice to have. Now, most of these aren't great for off-road craziness, so like chrome or the black plastic ones are good for getting in and out, but they won't protect against rocks, although there is a model that will protect against rocks. It's called the heavy-duty rock slider with step assist. There's an option to have a set of mirrors for when you take your doors off, because when you take your doors off, you lose the mirrors and then you're illegal to drive on the road. There are a bunch of kind of visual things you can do to your Jeep. So for example, you can get a black grille, you can do all these expensive stickers on the hood and on the sides, and I would typically skip them. I don't think they're worth the cost. And then I would also skip the fuel filler doors. I don't think are worth it. One thing that I do think is worth it is the windshield by Gorilla Glass. So Jeep windshields, very upright. Lots and lots of rocks hit them, easy to break. Apparently Gorilla Glass is supposed to make them much more sturdy. I need to try it myself. I'm sorry I haven't, but definitely something I'm going to be doing soon, and I think it's well worth the $195, which is much cheaper than the price of a new windshield. So as we step inside, you're going to have to decide, you want cloth or leather. Some models come standard with leather, a lot of them come standard with cloth. If you have the choice, stick with the cloth and go with the Heritage Tan. It's a free option. It's free to get black or tan cloth, and I love the tan. Now, having a big black dog, it is easy to get big black dog fur on them, but it looks so good and it really lightens up the interior. The leather seats are expensive, in this case $1,700, and I don't personally think they're very comfortable. The leather seats are just very firm. Honestly, no Jeep seat is very good, but the leather is a little bit worse. Now, as we look at the entertainment options, we see there is an option to upgrade to a larger screen, an 8.4-inch screen, $2,000. It does give you a lot of other goodies. However, don't do the big screen with the navigation. The standard 7-inch screen is really good. Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, just run the navigation off your phone. You'll be good to go. You can buy XM if you want XM. Now the premium sound system, $1,300. In my opinion, not worth it. Standard sound system sounds really good. If you want an insane amount of thumper bass, that's the only reason I would go for that. Now these guys right here are pretty much all not worth it. The consoles and storage, I think they're a little overpriced, wouldn't get them. The all-weather mats are very good, would probably get those. And then the hardtop headliner, if you get a hardtop, you can pay Jeep $500 to put carpet on the ceiling. Not worth it in my opinion, wouldn't recommend it. That's supposed to be for sound. And all of these additional goodies, the grab handle kit, the plastic door sill guards, the Jeep Trail Rated kit, $200 for a bag with a strap, some gloves and a ring in it. I did that once, never again. Just buy it off Amazon. One thing that is worth it though is the remote proximity option. This might come bundled in a package, but what this means is that you can just walk up to your Jeep with the key in the pocket and get in. Don't have to pull the key out of your pocket. Nice to have. Now, when we look at some of the packages, 8.4-inch group, I said skip it. Advanced safety, I do like it for the enhanced adaptive cruise control. Very nice to have. Cold weather group, definitely, like if you live in a cold place. It's got an insane heated steering wheel and heated seats design where they just get super hot. LED headlights, worth it. Unless you live in like a really big city like LA, where apparently these get stolen all the time, the LED headlights, definitely worth it. The standard ones are candles, and trust me, that collision with a deer is going to be more expensive than the LEDs. Safety group, if you want it. Technology group, Sirius XM, automatic temperature control for the air conditioning, I'd probably skip it. And then there's a sun and sound package that includes that one-touch sky top we were talking about. That's why it's so expensive. If you want it, consider it. Trailer tow, definitely. It gives you the hitch, it gives you a beefed up alternator, but more importantly, it gives you these buttons. These buttons allow you to add lights and accessories on your Jeep and then just wire them cleanly into these buttons. I actually had a new Jeep that I installed this aftermarket, and it was such an expensive pain in the butt. It has to be done at a dealer because these are actually wired into your ECU. Definitely get that, worth the 800 bucks. Talked about engines. Now, one thing we didn't talk about, a lot of Jeeps have the option for the anti-spin differential. If you're planning on off-roading it, would recommend it. It's relatively affordable and it would be much more expensive to do in the aftermarket. There's something called the Select Track Transfer Case. Now this gives you an option for something called four-wheel drive auto. So typically in a Jeep you have to switch it from rear-wheel drive to four-wheel drive. You can do it on the fly. It's not like the 80s where you have to get out and mess with hubs, but you do have to remember to pull the lever back. With this system you can put it in auto, just leave it be. Some people love it, especially if you're lending it to family and friends that don't understand that you gotta flick it in four-wheel drive high. It's probably worth it if you are new to the Jeep world. For me, I just remember to flick the lever and I'm all good. Cold air intake by Mopar, I would skip it. All right, so let me build you my perfect Jeep, which I think most folks are gonna like. Now, I think the Willys is a great compromise of looking cool like a Rubicon while still retaining some affordability of like a Sport and Sport S. So let's go ahead and build a four-door. That's what everyone buys. Let's go ahead and make it a shiny, bright color because it's a Jeep. Let's do the red. Actually, Snazberry is kind of funky too. This, like, yeah, just to be different, we'll do Snazberry. I do like this dark, rich red. I'm going to go ahead and select a tan top. I like tan tops quite a bit. These additional tops, by the way, you can add aftermarket, the Sunrider flip top, the solid sunbonnet by Mopar. These are all like aftermarket accessories you can do by your own through a company called Best Top if you wanted. Not going to do the hinge gate because I think it's plenty capable as it is. Don't want really huge tires. I'm not going to do the dual door group. I'm not going to do the additional step because I'm pretty tall as it is. I will do the Gorilla Glass on the interior, keeping it cloth baby, but we're going to go ahead and do the Heritage Tan. Love that. Skip the XM, skip the Alpine, skip all of this stuff. I will add the proximity entry. I forgot. I misspoke. This does require you to select the technology group, so it does get more expensive, but still worth it to just be able to walk up, pull the door open. I will do the advanced cruise control, will do the cold weather group because I live in Colorado. I'll skip most of this, definitely do the trailer tow. V6 manual transmission, love that. A lot of people probably won't, but that's how I'll do it. And the net price as we see it, $43,000, and that does include $1,500 in destination. There you go, that is how I would build my Jeep for 2022. Now, of course, you probably won't find your dream Jeep just sitting on a lot. You probably will have to do what I do and order it and then bring it to a dealer. And when I did that with my Jeep, it took a couple months for it to build, but definitely worth it. It shows up. It has your name on the sticker built specifically for X for you, and then you get exactly what you want and nothing you don't. One final option I wanted to mention is something called the Extreme Recon Package. This is like a $4,000 option, but it gives you really big tires. It gives you the ultimate off-road gear. And if you want to hit the trails and make your Jeep look really cool, it actually isn't terrible value. So if you get like a Rubicon, you can get the Extreme Recon, $4,000. It's all warranted, it's all ready to go. It looks like you drive a modified Jeep without doing anything to it. Well, I hope this was helpful in choosing your brand new 2022 Jeep Wrangler. I understand that there are a lot of trims and configurations and it can be overwhelming, but go in it with your mindset that maybe I don't need some of the options that the dealer is trying to push on me. Maybe I don't necessarily want all the niceties that some of the models on the lot come equipped with, because in a lot of cases you're better off just ordering one, waiting a few weeks, or in some cases is a couple months for it to be built, but then you have exactly what you want and nothing you don't. As always, this has been Tommy with the Fast Lane Car. Check out tflcar.com for the latest and greatest in new vehicle reviews.